Welcome, folks, to the Wilson Combat YouTube channel. Another episode of Gun Guys. Listen, right now, before you forget, press that subscribe button and make sure you're signed up for future editions of the episodes that we're going to give you. And I'm sure the viewers, most of you at home right now are like everybody, kind of curious about what's going on. So we're going to kind of call this the questions based upon the state of the business. You're very in tune with what's been going on from a supply system and demand. From your standpoint, to start off with, as far as the chain of supplies, has that had much effect on your business?
Oh yeah, absolutely. I mean, I keep, when people ask me about the firearms industry and like, you know, how come they can't get guns, how come they can't get ammo, whatever, I keep using the same word, unprecedented. Mm-hmm. This is I've been in this business 41 years, you know, as Wilson Combat, and I was actually in the retail business a couple of years before that. And so I got basically 43 years in the industry, and trust me, it is unprecedented. Nobody that in the industry has ever seen anything like this before. Yeah. You know, it's like Clinton get elected and Obama getting elected and Sandy Hook and the Vegas shooting, and it's like all that stuff rolled into one, you know, for the demand. We've never seen anything like this. And while companies like ours that primarily do firearms and accessories, and are a smaller player in the ammo business, the ammo companies have really got hit hard. I mean, It is, you know, I mean, every major ammo company is so overbooked with orders. You know, I was told by one of the top people in one of the largest ammo companies about a month ago that if they didn't take in another single order, it would take them over 2 years to fill the orders they had in the books.
Wow.
You know, now think about that.
It makes the toilet paper panic seem kind of pale compared to everything else, doesn't it?
And it really does.
And that was driven by purely panic mentality, no logic to it. Yeah. And I suspicion some of what we're seeing is in the similar venue. People are in a panic, probably for a better reason. Let's face it. If you live in, say, an urban center, and all of a sudden you come up to the reality, thanks to the Democrats' approach to, we're going to defund the police, and we're not going to punish people for committing crimes. When you realize that in the middle of the night, if somebody's kicking to your door and you call the police and they may not come, the odds are they won't, or they won't be there very quick, that maybe you need to have a gun in your home and have the ability to protect yourself and your family. I think that's driven a lot of it. But you're right. I mean, I know everybody, it doesn't matter whether it's automotive or what, everybody's got a supply chain that's been interrupted with this whole COVID thing. Yeah, but what are the things typically you guys have seen that have affected you as far as manufacturing firearms?
What makes the firearm situation different than what the automobile manufacturers are fighting, you know, with the chip shortage and stuff like that, is this is a perfect storm. You know, you got the hotly contested election, you know, between, you know, our new wonderful President Biden, and, you know, you've got defund the police, you've got all the riots and stuff like that, you've got Antifa, you got Black Lives Matter, you got violent criminals being let out of prison, you got violent criminals being released without even having to post bail or anything like that. You know, crime rate is skyrocketing in almost every city, especially like Baltimore and Chicago and New York, places like that. And imagine if you lived in Oregon or Washington, Minnesota, Wisconsin, those areas. I mean, those people, you know, in some areas are almost living in war zones. Yeah. You know, the crime's higher there than it is in Colombia and places in South America, you know, places we think of as really dangerous places to be. Right. And so all that combined has created a demand for self-protection product that's just, again, unprecedented in the history of the firearms industry. Right. And obviously all this demand, everybody's trying to meet the demand, so everybody's increased production, and we're all pulling from the same pool of available material, you know, available manpower, you know, available machines, all this, you know, it's like, you know, you know, stuff that we used to get in days, now it's weeks, you know, if you're lucky to get
and sometimes weeks, and now it's turned into months.
And the prices have just gone straight up. I mean, obviously we're in a very inflationary cycle right now. I'm not much different than what we dealt with in the 80s.
Right.
But you top that with, freights went up. The raw materials have went up. Labor's went up. During the early part of the pandemic, we were having to pay a substantial amount over and above time and a half overtime to get anybody to work overtime.
Wow.
Because everybody was panicked about the potential for the virus and everything. All the bad news on the TV everywhere. Everybody was.
You mean Pravda, the stuff that Pravda was doing.
all the our wonderful mainstream media was spewing out. People didn't want to come to work, and then the government starts giving out these checks. So now nobody wants to come to work because they're getting paid almost as much to stay home.
Yeah.
And so we had to really up the ante, which obviously increased our operating cost. We're paying more for raw materials, we're paying more for freight, we're paying more for labor, and we're not unique there. I mean, everybody in the firearms industry is dealing with the same issues.
Yeah.
So it's been quite a ride so far.
Yeah.
But the positive thing about it, I mean, business is way up, and we've tried to service our share of it. And obviously we've made some money doing that, and we've invested all that back into the growth of the company, and now we've got a lot more resources than we did, in late 2019. So that's at the end of the deal, when it's all over, we'll be a bigger, stronger company than we were before all this panic started.
Yeah. Demand-wise, I know let's face it, you make single stack 1911s. You make what has become very popular, that X9 family of guns, that high cap 9mm pistol. Obviously an AR business. Yeah. And of course you had a shotgun business.
Remington went under, so there's no base guns to build our scattered.
So obviously demand-wise, of say AR single stacks and the X9 family, demand-wise, have they all went dramatically up, or have you seen one or two categories that the demand is much higher on?
What we've seen is demand has went kind of off the chart on the AR product line, both accessories and the firearms themselves. And we've seen demand increase dramatically on the X9 series guns, and we've seen a slight increase in the single stack 1911 business.
Wow.
But they all have increased.
If you've had a crystal ball right now, and I know people always want a prediction of when is this going to be over. If you looked into the Bill Wilson crystal ball, would you say that 6 months, a year, year and a half, 2 years, 2.5? What's your crystal ball as far as ammo shortage and what we now know is some of the gun shortages? What's your prediction as when this thing will finally, shall we say, start to fall off the edge and return to normal?
Okay, I'll take the ammo one first, because that's going to be the longest one to ever come back, I think. But just because the ammo companies are backed up much worse than gun companies are. Mm-hmm. I don't think there's going to be a start of any slowdown until after midterm election, and that's if the Republicans take back the House and the Senate, or at least one of them. Mm-hmm. That's going to be a catalyst for things to start to slow down if the Republicans have a real strong showing at the midterm elections. Mm-hmm. Heaven forbid the Democrats hold the House and the Senate, gain seats, then it's going to continue on, in my opinion.
I think you're right.
Yeah, but if we're lucky enough, we take back the House and the Senate, I think there's going to be a taper off gradually on the ammo, and maybe by the end of 22, ammo might be readily available again, and it'll be established at the new normal, which let's talk our 9mm. What used to be $10 before all this is going to be probably $15, $16 a box. Yeah, is my prediction about where we're stabilized.
Yeah. Okay. And I tell people, ammo is a commodity, like like oil and copper and soybeans, whatever. It's supply and demand, and when the supply gradually increases to the point where the demand is greater than the supply, we see prices go up. Mm-hmm. And until that you can walk into a gun store or in a sporting goods store or a box store and you've got ammo stacked up and it's not selling at $40 a box or whatever it is, only then will it begin to come down.
Yeah.
And I think we all understand that the ammo deal is you've got manufacturers who make ammunition, sell it to distributors. Distributors in turn sell it to dealers, and dealers sell it to you and me. And there's no question in most of our minds that we all understand free enterprise. That's what made America great. But we've also seen that predominantly the dealer network that does retail business are the ones that are really gouging the price of ammo.
Yeah, I mean, we buy direct from the manufacturer, so we know what they're selling that product at, and they've had modest price increases, in relation to the amount of price increases I know they would have had on all their raw components and stuff like that. I'm not at all upset with the price increases we've got from Vista, which is Federal, Remington, CCI, and from Winchester. They've had some price increases, but it's not, it's not out of a reason for what they're having to pay for copper and for labor and for lead and all the different components, that they use. But like I say, it's going to take, I think, to the end of 22 before we're going to see ammo come back to get stabilized at whatever our new normal ends up being.
All right.
Guns, though, it's a little bit different deal. Like I say, because it's not quite as backed up as ammo is, but it's sometimes more volatile due to political things. And my prediction again is things are going to still be. There's going to be a lot of demand up until midterm election. And if they're, heaven forbid, there's, another major mass shooting or something like that, or the Democrats, actually get some sort of, meaningful gun control passed, then it's going to spike up even more.
Yes.
But, based on the way things are going right now, I see it continuing on very busy until midterm elections. And if, just like with the ammo, if we're lucky enough that we win back the House and Senate, then what you're going to see instead of a gradual taper off like you see in ammo, I think you're going to see a rapid taper off in demand for guns and accessories. Mm-hmm. That's my crystal ball on it. But I just don't see a major change in demand up until midterm elections. But I do see products going to get more available, because just like we've increased our capacity and we're shipping more and more product, most of the other companies are doing the same thing. Mm-hmm. So even though the demand will remain high until that midterm election, there's more and more product going out into the pipeline. So I see product availability and maybe even some price reduction stuff just because of the amount of supply and demand product that's available.
Well, we all remember the election when Donald Trump was elected. And let's face it, the media had told the American people that Hillary Clinton was going to be the next president. And the firearms industries all produced like ARs at an unreal rate. Everybody was stocking up, getting ready for it. Well, let's put it away. Hillary didn't get in the White House. And what happened was the demand for guns and ammo really dropped.
Oh yeah,
I can remember going.
There was some tough times after that election.
I remember going into a Missoula gun show and buying a brand new Colt 6920 in the box, brand new, for $600 out the door. And I mean, you remember the market was saturated in ammo. You can remember, not long after that, same deal. All those ammo inventories the distributors were stacked to the ceiling. You can remember when you didn't even have to be a dealer. I could get 115 grain 9mm ball delivered to my door for $167 a thousand.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Well, I'm not so sure we'll ever see that again. But you're right. It's the old supply and demand chain that affects it. Out of curiosity, what do you see in your crystal ball as far as what's going on? Do you think we've seen the shooting, let's say the shooting industry, that includes competition, training, self-defense. Do you think that those activities are going to continue to drop off, because they're dropping off big time right now, if nothing else because of the ammo shortages? Yeah. Do you think they're ever going to recover to the levels they did before, or do you think we may see a new, quote, normal where that interest will be maybe less than it was in the past?
I think that depends on ammunition availability and price. Mm-hmm. I mean, I really do. I think that if ammo becomes readily available again and it stabilizes at prices, say 25% above where they were pre-panic, I'm optimistic that the shooting sports will rebound, and some of the training facilities will start doing better than they are now. Mm-hmm. Some of the training facilities where it's really ammunition heavy. You know, like for example, there's one down in Texas down there that their curriculum's like 2,700 rounds in a class. You know,
that's not a formula for success.
I mean, I would think that's, you know, even when 9mm was $10 a box, that's a lot of cost just in ammunition to take that class. You know, I think it's made everybody that sets up matches and people that are doing the training rethink how many rounds you really need to shoot to have a good match or to have a good training.
Oh, absolutely.
Course.
Absolutely. One other area I'm curious about the Bill Wilson crystal ball. There's been a lot of questions and a lot of people making statements about this huge influx of new gun owners and what effect they're going to have. Now, I'll tell you personally, I think it's being overstated in that the people who went out and bought guns in this panic for real reasons. They worried about it. They didn't buy Wilson combat guns. Their purchase were almost, anybody in retail business were driven by price, cost. They bought the cheapest gun they could. Or as you said, sometimes they bought the gun that they could buy a spare ammo or buy a box of ammo with. People tell me, oh, this is going to be a great influx for the firearms industry, the training, the competition, the marketplace. I'm a little cautious before to make that prediction. I don't think in the long term, more gun owners is a plus, but I don't think it's going to have the effect that some people think. And I'm curious, what's your read on the quote, the 5 or 6 million new quote gun owners in America?
I'm pretty much with you, Ken. I think that the industry will be fortunate if 10% of those new gun owners eventually become gun guys. You know, they start shooting competition. They actually do. You know, pick up more guns and shoot ammo and get into reloading and all that kind of stuff. I think we'll be very fortunate if that's 10%. I think the bulk of them, it's, you know, this is a one-time deal. Now they have a gun, you know, in case somebody comes knocking at the door in the middle of the night, you know, so they feel safer. And if they even shot it at all, they probably didn't even shoot all the box of ammo they bought with it, and so they're not going to go buy more ammo, and they're probably not going to go buy another gun because they feel like they're in control of their own self-protection. So it's kind of mostly, I think, a one-trick pony, in my opinion.
I suspicion you're right. And you know, I'd like to leave this Gun Guy segment with one message. You know, over the past decade or so, it's not uncommon for somebody that's been and say served in the U.S. military for people to come up and tell you, thanks for your service. Right now in America, along this whole topic, the American law enforcement community is under siege.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
And it is insanity that we live in a society where you have a political party in power who wants to defund the police and treat them like they're the enemy. And I would advise all of you that the next time you see or you run into or you make contact with an American police officer, don't be afraid to look at them and say, listen, I appreciate what you're doing.
Absolutely.
Because they need to hear that. Because I'll tell you right now, it's not a good place to be.
Not a good place to be at all. And they're having trouble recruiting.
Oh, absolutely. So the bottom line is, I hope you got some insight from Bill. I think he's spot on. I really do. I think you and I pretty much are in line with that. We'll see how it goes. Until the next time, folks, stay tuned. Make sure if you go to range, you put them right in the X-ring and stay safe.